the head coach of your national championship gymnastics team, Jay Clark.
Woo!
He's a tough act to follow. I've had to do it a couple of times. It's not easy. Congratulations to each and every one of you, and congratulations to your families on this amazing occasion. It's a mile marker in your life. But this moment is not what we're celebrating. What we are celebrating is growth. What we are celebrating is attributes of your character that have allowed you to get to this moment. And when I arrived here, first of all, let me qualify what I'm about to say in that I am not a speechwriter. I am not a public speaker of any great orator skills. But what I am going to do is share from the heart with you a little bit about my journey here to LSU, a little bit about some of the things that we try to put into practice that promote that growth, and then I'm going to leave you with an analogy that some of you may have already heard, but I think is very apropos as you move into the next phase of your life. I arrived here 12 years ago, having been coached 22 years at my alma mater. Thought that was the only special place on the planet. Came here knowing nothing about LSU except for the ride from the Embassy Suites to the back door of the PMac when we would come in here every other year to compete against LSU, and I was at the University of Georgia. Please don't hold that against me. That's why I didn't get a hat today, because but got here and Dee Dee Bro sat me down and said, there's some things we need to identify that need growth in our program. One of which was the attendance. At that time, the attendance in this building for gymnastics meets averaged about 2,600 or 2,700, and they had just under 500 ardent, incredibly supportive season ticket holders that had been with her through her journey for 3 decades at that time. And we really set out to create a vision for what could be here in this town. I had been here enough to know that LSU is special. I had been in Tiger Stadium. I had seen the support for this university and this state. I knew that it was potential to be here. But what wasn't there was a vision for it. What wasn't there was a plan to be put in place. What wasn't there was mile markers set in front of us to really institute what we intended to see happen. And it took a while to get people on board with that vision. It's easy to get on board with visions of things that you already see going on around you. The traditional sports had already been able to do that. In a sport like ours, it seemed impossible to one day believe that every time we opened the doors to this building, that it could be sold out. And that people who didn't know a thing about our sport would have an interest in what we were doing. But we set out to create a plan and a vision. And we met with resistance, if I'm honest, at every turn. But I stand before you today, as he mentioned, we just set a record for all-time attendance here. We were number 1 in attendance, 12,500 on average, which is what the place seats when it's configured for gymnastics. And we have now well over 8,000 season ticket holders who renew at a rate of over 95% every single year. And we have not yet won a championship when that happened. Me, that's about a we mindset. That's about a set of principles that we put in place in our program day in and day out that is about we and not me. And that growth can only happen in your life, in your professional life, in your relationships, if you adopt that type of a mindset. We have a meeting room over there in our facility. If you haven't been there, I hope you'll come by sometime. It is magnificent. It is perhaps the nicest standalone gymnastics facility anywhere in the world, and right here in Louisiana. If you haven't been there, please come. Please come see us and come watch us train and get to know who we are. But we have a meeting room, and on that wall there is a pyramid, and I'm sitting there going, yeah, every coach has a pyramid, and every coach has a set of things they use when it's convenient, when someone has done something they shouldn't, and they use their coach speak and their phrases. But in reality for us, it is something we work at every day. And on that pyramid, it has principles that we try our best to adhere to. And there are two that resonate with me the most. I am a person who's passionate about growth. Growth in every area. Growth in relationships, growth in professional endeavors, growth in attendance, growth in everything. And I don't think you ever achieve the end game when you have a mindset of that. So that's my message to you today. This is a mile marker for you. You want many, many, many more mile markers in your life. And in order to do that, you have to adopt a set of principles, some of which you've already demonstrated by virtue of the fact that you're here today. But there are others that are out there that perhaps you haven't given a whole lot of thought to, and there are two that are on our wall that I talk about an awful lot. One is communication. I don't care whether it's in your relationships, in your professional life, in your marriage, with your family. If you find yourself in any position, especially in any position of leadership, which you will now, it is important that you make that paramount. Create avenues for increased communication. Do not allow yourself to fear communication. Do not allow others to fear communicating with you. Make sure that you keep open channels of verbal and various ways. In today's world, it's very hard to make it verbal all the time. But create avenues of communication. The second is respect. We hear a lot of the word respect, but it generally refers to someone's accolades or what they have achieved. I can respect Dr. Tate because he is the president of this institution. I cannot respect the man unless I know the man. Take time to get to know the man. I know the man. I respect him. I know enough about his journey to get to where he is today to know that I respect him for that. We can respect position, we can respect accolades, but that is not true respect. True respect takes taking time to communicate with one another. They go hand in hand and learn about what makes each other different, learn about the things that you have in common, learn about what makes each other tick, and invest time and energy into those relationships in order to earn and gain respect. True respect is something that is priceless. And it is something that if you have and you learn to grow, learn to invest into other people, you will see amazing things happen in your own life. Those are two of the core tenets of our program. We didn't win a championship last year because we just happened to put a group of people together that got lucky on a couple of days. We had to have some of that, and we did get lucky sometimes. We won a championship because of the previous year when we faced adversity, when we had half our team out with injury, when many of our so-called stars were not able to go. We learned what it was to honor each other with our actions, not with our words. We learned what it was to do something for the three letters that were on that leotard and on our chest. We learned to be selfless rather than selfish in a society that says it's about me all the time. We found ourselves playing roles that we had no idea we would ever play. We had not mapped out these roles for everyone. They were unexpected. And yet we had success because we maintained that we selfless attitude. We kept communicating and we genuinely loved and respected one another. That year, 2 years ago, when we finished fourth, is a year that I'm more proud of than the 8 championships I've been part of. Because of how they did it. Because of the attributes they learned that they'll carry with them for the rest of their lives. And it is those attributes that they maintained that propelled them to the next thing. They couldn't know that at the time. It took a selfless act with no promise of return to get to where they got this year. So as you go forward in your life, make sure that you stay relationship oriented in everything that you do. Make sure you don't lose touch with these people that are in the stands that have supported you your whole lives.
Amen.
Stay together with your family, stay together with your friends, invest in one another, continue to grow, it never ends. Growth never ends. And I'll leave you with this one final analogy, and I know this speech is not going to go viral. Okay? As I told you, I'm not great at this. But it's an analogy that I gave our team, and you may have seen it. I'll be honest with you, I saw it on Instagram. But there is one bird that would dare to challenge an eagle, and it is the crow. And when an eagle flies, the crow will attach itself to an eagle's back and begin to peck at its neck. An annoyance. But the eagle doesn't react to the crow. The eagle spreads its wings wider and wider and wider and begins to climb in altitude and get higher and higher and higher. Pretty soon the air is so thin that only the eagle can be up there, and the crow falls off. So in life, you're going to have setbacks. You're going to have things that peck at your neck. I mentioned that I graduated from the University of Georgia, and then I worked there for 22 years. I also was dismissed unceremoniously from that institution. I also experienced a feeling of betrayal by people that I thought were close to me. I also found an opportunity at LSU as a result of that, and wound up standing in front of you giving a commencement address that God knows if my grandfather was here, he'd be amazed. But ignore those pecking annoyances, those distractions that will come in your life. You're going to have adversity. You're going to face those challenges. You may be betrayed by those close to you. You may have dismissal in your life where you have to move on to the next thing and be open to something that you once thought you would never have been open to. Walk through those doors boldly. Never look back. Be willing to look in the mirror and self-examine and say, how can I grow? How can I get better? And if you can do those things, it's not a guarantee, but I promise you, you'll never look back with any regret, which is another tenet of our program. And you'll have fond memories of every experience that you've had in your life. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Thank you, Coach Clark. We are blessed and honored that you can be with us here today. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and accomplishments with our graduating class. I know they will take your words with them on the next phase of their journey.